People pleasing is not who you are. It's what you did when leverage wasn't equal. You weren't born accommodating. You weren't naturally self-sacrificing. You weren't just too nice. You learned how to read rooms, how to anticipate reactions, how to smooth tension before it turned into a consequence. And that didn't come from kindness. It came from lost leverage. Because when power isn't shared, compliance becomes strategy. So if you've been calling yourself a people pleaser, this isn't a personality flaw. It's a survival response to a system where saying no carried risk. And once you see that, participation becomes a choice. People pleasing is not generosity, it's risk management. When leverage is uneven, you don't assert, you anticipate. You read tone, you manage moods, you adjust before anyone asks. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that conflict had consequences and compliance lowered the cost. Most people think people pleasing means you care too much. What it really means is you're calculating exposure. You're asking, what happens if I say no? What happens if I disappoint them? What happens if I choose myself? And when the answer feels unsafe, you trade authority for accommodation. When you start to understand this, you stop shaming yourself for behavior that once protected you. And you start asking the real question. Why does my safety require safe erasure here? That question alone restores your power. You know this moment. Someone asks you for something, and before you even check your own schedule, you're already calculating. How upset will they be if I say no? What will this cost me later? Is the tension worth it? And you say yes. Not because it's aligned, but because the mouth felt safer. So you start compensating. You give more, you explain more, you bend more, you absorb more risk. Not to be kind, but to stabilize your position. You say yes when you want to say no, then feel resentful later. That wasn't confusion. That was you choosing short-term safety over long-term authority. Accommodation doesn't keep the peace. It keeps you locked inside the people-pleasing loop. And peace built on imbalance always costs more to the person accommodating. Take note of this. People-pleasing isn't loyalty. It's unpaid labor in a system that benefits from your overgiving. People-pleasing doesn't disrupt power. It preserves it. Imbalanced systems don't need force. They rely on your empathy, your patience, your willingness to absorb discomfort. Every time you adjust, the structure stays intact. Every time you smooth things over, leverage remains uneven. Most people think kindness will eventually be reciprocated. But kindness without leverage becomes expectation. And expectation turns into entitlement. It's like being the foundation of a building. Everyone walks on top of you. The structure depends on you staying in place. And the moment you try to move, everyone complains about instability. Not because you're wrong, but because they built comfort on your immobility. When you understand this, you stop confusing goodness with submission. And you start recognizing if my kindness is required for this dynamic to function, it's no longer generosity. It's leverage I'm giving away. Most women don't realize they're the ones holding the system together. You jump up to help, you rearrange your schedule, you stay on call emotionally, and the dynamic continues because you keep participating. You thought you were maintaining harmony, but what you were really doing was preventing the imbalance from being exposed. Here's what most people misunderstand. They think the discomfort they feel is proof something's wrong with them, but that discomfort isn't yours. It belongs to the system. the one that only works when you overfunction. And the moment you stop covering for it, the system has to reveal what it actually is: unbalanced. You stop fixing what was never yours to carry. You stop smoothing over what should have been uncomfortable all along. And you let the imbalance sit there, fully visible, without rescuing it. That's when leverage shifts. So let me ask you this. Where in your life do you feel obligated to be agreeable? Not because you want to, but because saying no feels costly. That's not your personality, that's positioning. People pleasing ends when participation ends. You don't break the loop through confrontation, through speeches, through explaining. You break it by withdrawing accommodation. You stop anticipating. You stop smoothing. You stop rescuing. You let people feel the absence of your overfunctioning. You have to move differently. You have to stop falling into the same old patterns. Instead of saying, I'll just handle it so it doesn't become a problem, try, I'm not available for that. And you let the silence sit. Because the system only survives on your compliance. Once you stop feeding it, it collapses. You were never a people pleaser. You were a power stabilizer. You kept the environment comfortable at your own expense. And the moment you stop doing that, everything changes. Not because you became harsh, but because you became self-authorized. People pleasing wasn't the problem, participation was. And now that you can name it, you don't have to perform in it. Here's what will happen next. The moment you stop accommodating, someone will call you selfish. The moment you stop smoothing, someone will say you've changed. Not because you became worse, but because they're reacting to the loss of your labor. That resistance, that's confirmation the system is collapsing. Now you have a choice. You can keep calling this just how you are and stay manageable, or you can recognize it for what it is, a response to lost leverage, and stop participating. One keeps the system intact, the other restores your authority. Quietly, cleanly, permanently. This channel isn't about becoming louder. It's about becoming unavailable for the power imbalance you've grown accustomed to. And if you're ready to choose authority over adaptation, subscribe. You're exactly where you're supposed to be.